give us a sign of your presence. And welcome to Let's Talk Ghosts. I'm your host, Steve.
I'm Dan.
And here we are. No Will, no Jeff.
Nope.
That's all right.
They jumped ship.
They're it's just one of these nights that things have been a little crazy around the Let's Talk Ghost studio.
Well, my job has made things very, very difficult. Yes.
So we're managing to do a show tonight. Anyways.
Well, for me, school starts in
about a week.
Well, less than a week.
Less than a week.
In just a few days, really. And so I told my employers that, because they've had me working all these crazy hours, going
double shifts in a row,
and from going from first shift to third shift to second shift, back to third, back to first, and so it's been completely crazy. I mean, the pay is good because I've been working tons and tons and tons of hours, but I told them once school starts up again, because I go to school full time, that I cannot do these crazy hours because I'm actually only scheduled for 36 hours, which where I work is full time. Anything over 28 is full time. And so I'm actually on the schedule for 36 hours, and I've been working more like 60 hours a week, and it's been all over the place. So, and it's unpredictable. I never know if I'm going to get out on time or get stuck. And
then, of course, I have my own set of issues. It's not really an issue, but my brother from Florida is up visiting me and taking up some of my time.
Right.
But I mean, I'm not complaining.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's been getting things around for the show has been a little tough. I got to tell you a story about my brother. He moved down to Florida, I don't know, 40 some years ago. I think he was like 19. He's 65 years old, and I just turned 66. Well, I haven't seen him in a long time, so we got him on an airplane. My wife set up the reservations, and back on August, I think it was August 15th. I think it was.
It was somewhere around there, yeah.
12th or whatever the heck it was.
Because it was right before I went to...
It was a Saturday.
Yeah, it was right before I went to New York City for the week.
Right. So he was to leave Jacksonville, Florida, and he was going to fly direct flight to Newark, New Jersey, and then catch a flight from there to Binghamton, New York. No problem.
Which would have put him a half-hour drive from your house.
Right. So it's going to be great. Well... Yeah. If you remember, that was the day that air traffic control towers around the Washington, D.C. area all went down. They had a computer glitch, and everything shut down. So they shut down. So it delayed hundreds of billions of aircraft. Probably not hundreds of billions.
Yeah, because
I like to exaggerate.
I don't think there's hundreds of billions of aircraft on this earth.
Probably not, but hundreds and thousands and zillions. Anyways, pretty much the whole East Coast and some out further. It just messed up everything. Air travel just got completely screwed. Anyways, I mean, anything like that happens in the grid of air travel, it just jams everything up.
Right. It's kind of like a domino effect.
So, long story short, he catches a flight from they take off from Jacksonville 2 hours late. So he's already missed his connection to Binghamton. And because of the air traffic control towers being all screwed up around Washington, they weren't allowed to fly in that airspace. So in order to get to Newark from Jacksonville, they ended up flying all the way to Canada, hooking around through Lake Erie, over top of Lake Erie, and then back down to Newark. It's the craziest thing I've ever heard. And they end up in Newark, and of course by that time there was no flights to Binghamton.
Couldn't they kind of just veer to the left and then veer back to the right?
I don't know. Don't ask me. I don't understand air travel.
You know what I'm saying? Because if from Jacksonville, if they just kind of headed in a northwesterly direction, they would have stayed away from Washington. And then once they're across from Washington, kind of veer back northeast.
But the pilot came on and said we have to travel up around through Canada and back down around to get to Newark. Anyway, that's what they did. So anyways, he gets
a very big...
I know, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So anyways, they get in Newark. They drop him off. You got to realize he's 65 years old. I mean, he's still in pretty good shape, but I mean, he's 65 years old. They dump him. They get in Newark, and they basically tell him, "You're on your own. Rent a car." He's just had eye surgery. he really shouldn't be driving a car. And they're like, go rent a car and drive the rest of the way. That was it. They just dumped him off in Newark and said, you're not our problem anymore. So luckily, I have a sister that lives in Dobbs Ferry, just north of
in Westchester County.
So I called them. I said, hey, you got to go rescue your brother. And they ended up talking him through it, and he was able to get a cab from the airport to
Grand Central,
and then he got on a train to Dobbs Ferry, and everything worked out, and then got on a bus from there. The next day, they put him on a bus from there to Binghamton.
Right.
So everything worked out, but it was, what a rigmarole.
Well, if there was no family down in that area, he would have been completely
I would have been driving to Jersey to pick him up.
Right. That would be
which would have been 8 hours round trip.
He may have been able to, if he could have got a cab instead of to Grand Central
to Port
Authority,
he could have got a bus.
There's buses going to Binghamton almost every hour between Greyhound and Short
We probably
Line.
could have done something like that, but
and it's only $40 each way.
What a pain in the butt.
So
what a pain.
Instead of Grand Central, he could have went to Port Authority and hopped a bus straight to Bing.
Hopefully, when he goes home, it'll be a little less hectic.
Yes.
Catching as long as his flight out of Binghamton is on time, anything, whatever happens down there, he can just.
Once he's down there,
they'll get him to Jacksonville.
Right.
Hopefully, everything works.
So this is the first show since I went to New York City, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Because I had some issues traveling on mass transit.
Last week we just did a replay of our 100th show with Alexander Hoser
because I was in New York City for the week.
So what happened to you?
Well, I get to the bus station in Binghamton, and just to make sure I had a seat on the bus because Binghamton to New York City is a pretty popular bus to take. Plus, like a lot of them, especially the Greyhounds, I believe are Toronto to Buffalo to Syracuse to Binghamton, then to New York City. So you have everybody from Toronto, Buffalo, Syracuse, and Binghamton all trying to get to New York City.
Right. So the buses get full.
Buses fill up. So the day before, I went online and I purchased my ticket online ahead of time so that when I got there, they're not like, bus is sold out.
Right.
So I buy it for a 7:10 in the morning bus. And I get there and I go to the window to get my ticket because I do like the will call. You pick it up when you get there or whatever. They're like, oh, well, that bus is stuck in customs in Canada and running late. So they're like, well, there's another bus coming at 8:40 and we can get you on that one. So luckily, I just had to stick around for about an hour and a half, almost 2 hours.
Waiting for another bus.
Almost 2 hours waiting for another bus to show up.
Your bus never showed up.
No,
not while you were there.
Not while I was there. It was stuck in customs.
Right.
For whatever reason, either the U.S. or the Canadian authorities decided that a Greyhound bus was not safe or something to go through customs. I don't know.
But you got it on there all right. Had a good time.
Oh, yeah. I had a great time, yeah. I hung out in Manhattan on Monday and then went to Brooklyn and hung out in Coney Island on Tuesday. I took Maggie there. We went to the New York Aquarium, saw a sea lion show, and then had some Nathan's hot dogs right there on the boardwalk, and went to the freak show. Maggie got to pull a sword out of a guy.
Cool. She didn't stick the sword in him, did she?
No, the guy swallowed the sword, and then she went up on stage and got to yank it out of his guts.
Cool.
Yeah. Out of his mouth. Yeah. She didn't stab the guy.
I got a quick funny story.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, you were there, actually.
Was I?
Well, my brother winning the trifecta.
Oh, the racetrack, yes.
So we on a Friday we have a local racetrack, so we go down there,
harness
racing, and so we're down there, and Dan's there, me, and then my brother Bill, and we I decided I was going to bet trifectas all night because they have a thing called 50-cent trifecta. If you box, it costs $3 a race, pretty cheap.
Right, it is cheap.
So first race, none of us won anything. Second race.
Didn't you win? I thought you won the first race.
No, it was the second race.
Oh,
second race, I hit the trifecta. Second one in my life. I've only hit one once before. This is the second time in my life I've ever hit a trifecta. Yeah, they're hard to hit.
I bet $2 on a single horse to win. That's all I do.
And I won a whopping $17.
I've won more than that just picking a horse.
Right. I'm like, it had to have been one of the lowest trifectas I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, that's ridiculous, yeah.
So then, the very next race, my brother up from Florida has never bet on harness races in his life. really didn't know anything about handicapping or anything.
He might as well have been rolling dice and picking horses that way.
And he decided to do the trifectas too. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo.
Yeah.
Picks 3 horses, and don't they come in, and he wins a trifecta.
Yep.
And he wins $105. Are you freaking kidding me?
On a $3 bet.
Oh, boy. Good for him, though.
Yep. Well, it's just like that one time I was there on a $2 bet. I won like $69.
Yeah.
And that's just picking one horse.
Remember the $20 bet you did?
Yeah, one time I put $20 because I was just so sure about this horse. I put $20 on this horse to win, and
it won.
It won, but it paid out
$2.10.
$2.10. That means if you bet $2, you got your $2 back plus 10 cents.
So on a $20 bet, you made $1.
I bet $20. I got $21 back, which is a $1 profit on a $20 bet.
Which you left for the tip.
No, I actually. Oh yeah, I did.
You said you were so disgusted you just gave it to her for the tip.
Yep.
That's funny. Hey,
anyways,
tonight's show.
We should start talking paranormal. Probably.
Yeah, tonight's show. This is going to be kind of scientific paranormal. Just kind of what we've been working on the past few weeks. We've been talking about sounds below human hearing.
Because this is something we're really passionate about, and we really want to do more research on it, and because we feel that this is something that could actually further the field.
Okay, let me tell you, they actually already have a name for this. It's called infrasound.
Right.
That's what they call it. That's sound below human hearing, below the 20 hertz.
Yeah.
From 20 to 0.
Right.
It is called infrasound. It's that low frequency, just outside of human hearing, normal human hearing. It's sometimes referred to as low frequency sound. It is lower than 20 hertz or cycles per second, the normal limit of human hearing. Can travel. Now, this is what's interesting about infrasound. It can travel long distances and actually go around obstacles. They use they use infrasound for monitoring earthquakes, charting rock and petroleum foundations below the earth. Apparently, when they're doing those, they're like doing an ultrasound of the earth. They use infrasound waves.
Okay.
Because apparently, infrasound will travel through the rocks better than the higher sound waves. Okay, so the interesting thing about infrasound, which is below human hearing, it can travel very long distances, which makes what we do interesting in a way. Now, of course, what we're talking about are EVPs. Well, what have been called, what I'm starting to call something else. They're not. EVPs are electronic voice phenomenon that we pick up on our voice recorders because we don't hear them when they make the sound.
Right. Because if we hear them, then they're considered disembodied voices.
If you hear the sound, it's considered a disembodied voice. Now, electronic voice phenomenon. Now, what if what we're hearing on our recordings are not electronic and not a phenomenon? What we're picking up.
A lot of people's explanation of EVPs is that the spirit is manipulating
the electronics
and
it's only
or imprinting on the magnetic tape or
things like that. Well, me and Dan have come up. We're kind of working on this hypothesis, I guess you would call it.
Yes, it would be a hypothesis
that EVPs aren't really what they are. They are actually just they're just disembodied voices.
They're low energy sound waves.
They're low energy sound waves coming in below human hearing. They're still disembodied voices because they're there. Because we can't hear them doesn't mean they're not there. So this is the kind of what we're working on right now, trying to figure out which direction to go in.
Right.
And so I've been doing more and more research on this, and I've been finding really interesting things. For instance, infrasound or low frequency